And away we go. It's the nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Go to the website. They will get delivery right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or you can head down to Dayton, Kentucky, Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner. Tell them to pump it up, and you will save 15% off of the Galactic goodness. It is out of this world. All right, Aaron. Worst case scenario, as you start this final 6-game stretch of the season, needing to go 4-2, you're playing the last place team in the league on your home floor, and Oklahoma State walks out victorious 80-76. Defensively, Cincinnati was bad for 40 minutes.
It's the only word for it.
They were bad. I mean, I don't know what else, there's no sugarcoating it. You have a team. I mean, here's the frustrating part. And I know this is, in sports, it is, especially in a league like this, mentally, you see what they have been through the first 12 games. And then I think this happened at West Virginia. And, I think it's something that is annoying. It's in our brains, it should not happen. But you see these teams that are at the bottom of the league and you think, I can take a breath. Like, that's just a player mentality. And in this league, you can't. We talked about this a little bit on Monday, and if people have been paying attention, you and I have really liked this Oklahoma State team from the start. Like, we have spoke, even though the results were slow to develop, we have talked highly about this team because we like their style of play, and we like the fact that offensively, they have a lot of firepower and a lot of different ways to beat you if you don't if you're not at your best defensively. And I think Cincinnati just was not dialed in defensively the way that they have been against the top teams in the league. And this is the worst case scenario to do that against. And a lot of the time, Aaron, tonight, it felt like I was watching a pickup game. Like, this game never settled into the half court. Like, it was pretty up and down. And at worst, like, you weren't, was there a shot clock violation the entire game? Like,
I don't believe so. And there wasn't really free throws in the entire first half.
No. So it was just an up and down, free flowing game, which favors Oklahoma State. That's how they want to play. They want to get up and down and not allow you to get set defensively.
5 total free throws in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, neither team reached the bonus in the first half, I don't think.
No, you can't.
5 fouls for Cincinnati in the first half, 5 fouls for Oklahoma State.
Yep.
And that included that weird double foul that was called on Aziz and Garrison that ended up being big because it put Aziz in foul trouble and kind of limited his minutes. But this was just a team that was not what they have been for 2 months defensively. They just didn't look sharp.
We saw John Newman on skates several times tonight. That was odd to see. Not used to that.
I think some of that was they play so small. Like, essentially, they have pretty much 3 point guards on the floor at all times. I didn't think there was, we talked about this before the show. Generally, every Big 12 team you play has that prototypical 6'6" wing that John Newman does a fantastic job guarding. You don't want John for a full game guarding a point guard type player. And I think you kind of had to, the way that your lineups were set. I don't know. There's no, I mean, again, you guys know words like inexcusable are triggers for me because, okay, it's inexcusable. So now what? Unacceptable, inexcusable. Oh, okay, now what? Like,
well,
I'm
it's
no.
just
Okay.
you're not going to win a game when you let the other team shoot 50% for the entire game.
Both halves. Normally, when you see that, Aaron, there's a correction half to half where you hold them to like 42% in the second half. That was not the case.
The worst
continued.
The worst team in the conference at shooting free throws, even worse than Cincinnati at shooting free throws.
Free throw defense sucked. Free throw defense was terrible.
They made free throws when they needed to, down the stretch, in clutch time, which they are also not accustomed to, as they don't win games. They had not won a single road game the entire season, including the out of conference.
Yeah. But as we have noted, this is a team that was trending up, and it is very difficult to I guess balance both things in your brain. This is the worst team in the league that is playing significantly better. The reason they're the worst team in the league is they were really bad the first 6 conference games. Like that first 6-game window, they were 0-6, and they were getting lit up. They were getting destroyed in those first 6 games. But the 6 games since then, they lose to Kansas, at Kansas, understandable. They beat Kansas State. They lose to Houston, at Houston, understandable. They take Oklahoma to the wire, 66-62, and then they beat BYU 93-83 and are just on fire offensively. That has got to be, for your team, a wake-up call that this is, while they are record-wise the last place team in the league, they are not playing poorly. This was not a team coming into Cincinnati limping. This is a team coming into Cincinnati that is very young. They start 3 freshmen, and they were trending up. And Cincinnati did not answer that bell, especially after they get out to a 10-4 start. They completely fall apart.
9 turnovers in the first half. I mean, again, these are not ways that you win a game. You can't come out flat against anybody in this conference. Yeah. Not anybody.
Well, and I think early, Aaron, like they had 6 or 8 points. All of them were off turnovers. Like you could have been up 16-0 early. And you're just giving them points, allowing them to stay in and gain confidence. They eventually did. They go on a run. They go into halftime up 7.
17 points off tournaments for the game for Oklahoma State.
Yeah. And then you get to the second half. You get a lead. Jizzle gives up 3. Like, Jizzle was the reason you got the lead. He was electric for like a 3-minute stretch. And then Javon Small just went right at him. 3 straight possessions, and the lead is gone. And instead of capitalizing on that momentum to take that 4-point lead to 7 or 8, where it probably would have been really difficult for Oklahoma State to regain their footing, you gave them their confidence right back immediately. And bottom line, it comes down to defense. You let a team come into your gym and score 80 by shooting over 50% from the floor for the game and 40%, or right around 40%, just under 40% from 3. They didn't take a lot of them, but they took really good, clean, open threes. moving the ball against this defense. You can't let it happen. Not with the season on the line. It's inexcusable.
I feel like the game in a nutshell can be encapsulated by Dan Skillings in a matter of about 8 seconds with the steal. He tried to go bounce pass cross court, up court, and that was stolen. And then he blocks it on the other end. It was such a strange play, and it's pretty much Dan in a nutshell, where you see electric play, you see dumb play, you see electric play.
Right. There was no consistency throughout the game.
No.
None.
I don't know. I mean, if you say that they're running 3 point guards, why wouldn't you have taken this opportunity to run both Day and Jizzle? And maybe if John's struggling, I understand he's your best defender, but if he's struggling and getting put on skates, maybe you pull him. I don't know that you necessarily want to pull.
I think scorers. The fear there, if you put so here's the math, and Mo tweeted something out that I don't know how. He played 13 minutes. He was minus 11, which isn't, that happens from time to time.
You're right. It's not all necessarily on him.
He scored 10.
Correct.
So think about that. He scored 10 while he was on the floor in 13 minutes, which makes it minus 21 because he provided 10 points of resistance. And in the 13 minutes, if you take his points out, Oklahoma State outscored them by 21 with him on the floor. I think that's why you didn't see him much down the stretch. He could not guard Javon Small.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't 2 other point guards out there for him to potentially guard. If you put both he and Day out,
they would just have gone to the other one. All 3 of them played well.
But that's not to say that they would have done the same thing necessarily on Jizzle that Javon Small was inarguably their best player tonight.
I mean, the guy that had 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists wasn't bad either. And went 5 of 7 from the floor.
I understand. But Javon Small was inarguably their best player.
And the other guy had 15 and 3 assists. They didn't really stop any of them. I'm just telling you, if you play 13, it's not a large number of minutes. And you're minus 11, usually that means you have like 2 points. He scored 10 points in those 13 minutes. And they had 21 points the other way, even when you include his 10. I don't know I don't know how you play him down the stretch of a game. You're trying to get stops. But I will also say they didn't get any fucking stops. So
I know Coach said in his presser that this loss is on him. There's plenty of blame to pass around. He's not going to throw his players under the bus, but you needed this one. This one, you had to have this one. And this is of the stretch of the final games here. This is the worst loss of the remaining games on the schedule. This was the worst possible loss.
Yeah, and I mean, Russ made a great point here. They haven't won back-to-back games since Evansville and BYU. Those are the last time they won back-to-back games. 5-1, just what? Come on. If you could have got it to 4-2, where if you win this game, you needed 4 wins to get to 9, or 3 wins to get to 9. This would have put you at 6-7, and you needed 3 wins to get to 9. You would have had to go 3-2 in the final 5 games. That is manageable. 4-1 with road trips to TCU, Texas, or TCU, Houston, and Oklahoma. You got to win 2. Now you have to win 2 of the road games. And both of your home games, which, as we had seen, this team is 2-5 in Big 12 play at home.
I think at the rate this team has been playing, unless something changes drastically, I think getting to 2 wins in these final 5 is going to be tough sledding.
Anderson, how would you know how many points scored Javon Small scored in the 13 minutes that Jizzle was on the floor? Where would you find that info? If you have it, I would love to see it.
You could probably get.
I watched him get beat 3 times in a row by Small when they took the lead.
Well, Coach said the exact same thing in his presser.
I tweeted it as it was happening. Yes,
he said
it is electric. It is electric when he does what he does offensively. But if you can't stay in front of your guy and you can't, I think the biggest problem right now for Jizzle is he can't get over screens. Like, he is struggling when he is screened. He just does not have that. He has not learned that ability to snake over screens and to stay connected with this guy. He's getting stuck on him. And when you get stuck on him, you put the defense in a bad rotation, because this defense is not designed to be heavy help. It is designed to beat the screen and guard your man. And you're putting everybody in a bad spot when you consistently get caught up on the screen and your man is just playing downhill from 15 feet and in.
On the flip side, talking about offense, I think that's probably the biggest issue I have with Aziz on the court right now is his inability to screen. His screens are less than. He does not set anywhere near the same screens. And I'm sure part of it is his body is not the same as Jamil's. But Jamil sets hard screens by comparison with Aziz on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah. But you're so much better defensively in a game where you struggled to defend. Think about how bad the first half would have been if Aziz wasn't back there blocking shots and erasing guys with a clear path. I mean, he blocked 3 or so that were just easy layups if he didn't come out of nowhere and go get it. So I don't know what that answer is either, Aaron. But now I've had at least 3 or 4 people in my mentions complaining about not playing Vic.
Well,
I just look, they and you saw it in the 3 minutes Odie played. You could not play 2 bigs against Oklahoma State. Not the way they were playing offensively tonight. They tried it. I think they were just that desperate. They were so bad defensively that he was like, I got to try something. Yeah. And then Odie got beat backdoor on a cut baseline.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
yeah, he did.
But here's, I've heard a lot about rotations, so let's discuss that for a little bit. Let's go over minutes as they were. There's 3 guys that aren't sharing time right now, right? Dan, John, and Simas. Dan played 34. John played 32. Simas played 30. Day played 26. Jizzle played 13, 14, however you want to round up, the numbers. So that's the point guard position. The center position, you got 23 from Aziz and 17 from Jamil. The only other minutes were out there. CJ played 8. He did not have an impact in his 8. Josh played 4. I thought Josh had one of his best games in a long time in his 4 minutes or 14 minutes. And then Odie played 3. The rotation is shortened. They are only playing essentially 8 guys. And 2 of them are kind of a platoon with Jizzle and Day and then Aziz and Jamil. So I don't know, like the people that are complaining about that, other than playing everybody 40 minutes, there has to be a rotation. There has to be a time for guys to come in and play well. But the problem from the bench tonight, Aaron, Jizzle, 14 minutes, minus 11. CJ, 8 minutes, minus 13. Jameel, 17 minutes, minus 10. Odie, 3 minutes, minus 6. Josh was even in his 14 minutes. That was your bench. The only other person that wasn't a positive in plus minus was CMOS at -2. So if your argument is the starters should be playing, every starter should be playing 35 minutes, okay, sure. But didn't we have a game against Iowa State last week where the starters, 4 of the starters combined for like 6 points? Like the depth has been a strength of this team.
At this point, I feel like if you throw a lob, you should just be pulled from the game. Period. Just you get the Vic treatment. You do not play another minute. The end. No more lobs. I think there were about 5 turnovers on lobs. One that just sailed into the corner of the arena. I don't know what we're doing. I don't want to see any. I love dunks more than anything. I love dunks. And I would be okay if we saw not a sign of another alley-oop the rest of the season, because Jesus Christ, they're terrible at throwing lobs.
Not great, Bob. It's not great.
I also feel like CJ Frederick, they got to figure out when he's in the game how to get him the ball. Otherwise, I feel like his minutes are wasted time out there. It seems strange to have him on the floor as a guy that you don't kick the ball to when he's open.
Yeah, I think some of that, Aaron, is you've got to be getting used to him by now being out there, but I think there is some of that, like they have played without him for 6 weeks. And, you have to get back into that mentality of remembering that guy can shoot the shit out of it. If his guy, there was probably 3 different times tonight where I watched a driver and CJ's guy would start to suck in and nobody would throw it to him.
Dan's ball awareness, when he has the ball, his court awareness is horrendous. He has 0 offensive awareness of what's going on around him, especially anything happening behind him as he's backing down anybody. He has horrendous offensive awareness, period.
No argument there.
The worst on the team, I think, including the centers, outside of maybe Aziz.
You have a guy that has barely played.
I understand.
But one of the things that is sacrificed is just a natural feel for the game, because he played pickup ball his whole life up until he was a junior in high school. Like that's CMOS' problem is almost the exact opposite of Dan's. CMOS sees things like that pass Dan made. I don't know if you remember this. He tried to throw a one-hand bullet pass like into triple coverage. There were 3 guys standing there in transition. He tried to do one of these. There was no chance.
Trying to look like
Magic Johnson couldn't have made that fucking pass.
Trying to look like this past year's rendition of football.
Yeah, Magic Johnson couldn't have made that fucking pass.
Nippert Stadium, what's up? Triple coverage, I got this.
But Dan doesn't see anything, and CMOS at times sees too much, where he sees things that usually the guy he's passing to isn't ready for, and it ends up in a turnover.
Well, you turn the ball over 14 times, and 2 of the guys, CMOS and Dan, who probably have the ball in their hands more than anybody on the court, they certainly shoot the ball more than anybody, as they made up 24 shots tonight of the 60 by the Bearcats. 8 turnovers. That's a lot of turnovers for 2 guys. You don't want a team to finish with much more than 8 turnovers.
Right. I mean, the thing that's frustrating is Oklahoma State's not a team that forces turnovers. They don't pressure you.
I think there was something in the 123 or something in net coming into this game. They're not.
Well, I think they just got. I think they got infatuated early, Aaron, with they were out and running. Like when they got to that 10 points, like that 10-4 lead, it was kind of a track meet. And I think they were trying to recreate that. And like I said, it just looked like a pickup game. It didn't look like they ever settled in and played basketball. Like they didn't make Oklahoma State work for much of anything.
I've never seen a pickup team miss that many lobs. If there's anything pickup teams are good at, it's alley-oops.
Sure. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with the overall point, but I think you get caught up. I know, but I think you get caught up early and like, okay, like we're gonna get out and run on these guys because they're bad defensively. And I don't think that creates a mentality of like sitting down and guarding, right? Sitting down and just stopping somebody over 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, the left-handed bounce pass to Thomas was awesome for the dunk. Like that was a great pass. But that was in open court. Where he gets in trouble is when there's guys in his way and he still tries to throw the home run pass into triple coverage. Eli Manning thinks Dan makes bad decisions throwing the ball.
If there's guys in his way, Dan should just do what he did. I want to say it was in the first half and just run everybody over. Go straight to the hoop and just run over everyone.
Yeah. Oklahoma State went 23 of 37. Somebody said he looks like a guy going down a downhill slalom course that that hits a bump and like he's just always kind of like wobbling. Like if you watch downhill skiing in the Olympics, you hit that one little bump and
he's a baby deer, a baby giraffe, whatever long-limbed animal you want to compare him to. But I was just going to say, I don't know if Dan is falling more over himself or if Day-Day is falling more. Between the two of them, they are always on the floor.
They spend a lot of time on the ground. This is the damning stat of the night, P. Crawley. Oklahoma State went 22 of 37 from 2-point range. You can't let that happen. And Cincinnati blocked 6 shots. So on the shots they didn't block, Oklahoma State went 23 of 31 from 2-point range. That's inexcusable, Aaron. It's undefensible. Indefensible. Whatever. I'm making fun of the people that use those words constantly.
I hear you.
Do I think when the game isn't as suspected, these guys panic, which leads to poor play? No, Jared, I think this is a team. Here's what you still have to remember. Mike Boynton talked about this a little bit in his post game. Not in the context that I'm mentioning it, but he talked about in this how tough it is in this league. And he brought up a great point that I hadn't really thought of. He said, I coached in this league 7 years. And in 2 of those years, Bob Huggins' team finished last in this league. And Bob Huggins is a, no question, undisputed Hall of Famer. And twice in 7 years, his team finished last in the conference, which I think there is still an adjustment for the new teams that we have seen a little from BYU. We haven't seen from Houston because Houston is just a machine. But there is still an adjustment to playing the last place team does not mean you are playing a bad team. It means you are playing a team that is not as good as the other teams you are playing. But Oklahoma State, if you watched, still has a shit ton of talent. Brandon Garrison is a dude. I saw people say like Oklahoma State can't score at the rim or can't score. They don't have anybody, a big guy that can score. Well, you've never watched Brandon Garrison play.
He's one of my top 5 players in the league. He's to watch. I think he is so much fun to watch.
He killed them early. Like, I think that's another thing, Aaron, as we dig into like maybe why the defense wasn't as good. I think the emphasis was to shut down their guards. And early, they kind of did that. Like, they were making the guards work a little bit there early, and Garrison scored 10 points pretty easily. Pretty easily. And then all of a sudden now, okay, we have to shift focus to shutting down Garrison. And then you give a little bit more space to their guards, and their guards made plays.
He is so athletic.
Yeah. He's 6'11". He's athletic. He's got a little bit of range. I've said it constantly, to be successful in this league, you have to win at home. They're 2-5 at home. It's not going to get it done. As we've talked about consistently, the top 5 teams in this league are incredible at home. 72-2. You know what's impossible to believe? This team still has a pulse, and they're 2-5 at home. That's not how this league's supposed to work.
Well, they may have.
You're supposed to have 3 wins in the conference on the season if you're 2-5 at home. I don't know that there's any secret sauce to like why they're losing at home. I don't know that there's any specific reason as to why they're losing at home. They're playing a bunch of close games on the road. Like it's not like they're playing it's not like they're winning road games by 15 and losing at home by 8. They're in the same games at home that they are on the road. They just, for whatever reason, happen to make more shots in the final 4 minutes on the road than they do at home. Why? I have no idea. Because the overall numbers say they're better at home than they are on the road. Let's remember, boys and girls, they shot 50% from the floor today, 30 of 60. And they were 11 of 16 from the free throw line. The offense was not the problem. They played as good offensively as they have played all year, Aaron.
Yes and no. Because it's still those
all those yes and no.
All those shitty lobs. This offense could have been better tonight. Those shitty lobs were horrible.
What was there, 3?
At least.
Okay, 3 possessions.
That's
bad offense, Aaron. There have been a bunch of games where they've shot 38% from the floor, 34% from the floor. They shot 50, 30 of 60.
It's just stupid and completely avoidable.
But you're focusing on 3 possessions in the grand scheme, and I get it. Those 3 possessions in a 1-point game, like down the stretch, I understand how important those 3 possessions are. But objectively, as bad as they've been at home at times on offense, they were not that today. They didn't take a bunch of threes. They weren't taking ill-advised shots.
Shitty lobs. Great garage band name.
What I'm saying, look, there are the sloppiness in the first half, and they corrected the sloppiness in the second half. I think they only had 5 turnovers in the second half. So that was not the issue down the stretch, that they were giving the ball away. The issue is they couldn't stop Oklahoma State. They couldn't get a stop at any point. I mean, they went up. Let's see here. They go up by 4. OSU bucket. They get up by 5 on the Josh Reed layup. I forgot they went back up by 5 on a great pass from Dan to Josh, and Josh puts it back up and in. Bucket by Garrison, dunk by Keller, 3 by Keller, driving layup by Small. The 3 free throws that they gave Keller on the flop was infuriating. Aziz didn't even touch him. I think that was the one. Yeah. He didn't even touch him. And he fell down and they gave him 3 free throws. That was a killer because you're up by 2 at that point. And all of a sudden you're down by 1. But then Aziz gets a second chance. You go up by 1. He makes the free throw. You're up by 2. Daly makes a 3. He's a 30% three-point shooter. He had made 15 threes on the year. Then they get another 3. And all of a sudden, your 2-point lead, you're down 5. And then you foul. Or you're down 4. Then you foul. Now they're up by 6 with 1:29 left. Like, they just didn't get stops. The keys, I've said this the entirety of the time that I've been doing this as a job. If you don't get stops in the final 5 minutes, you're not going to win in this league. I said it in the Big East, and it was true there. I'm saying it in the Big 12, and it's true here. If you cannot stop your opponent in the final 5 minutes, you're going to lose. And they could not stop Oklahoma State in the final 5 minutes. They couldn't.
Yeah, and I don't know. When you give up, 12 second chance points on 6 offensive rebounds, that's a wild stat.
I don't know how you do that. And I think I think 2 of them were 3s. You do a great job on the defensive glass. Well, I wouldn't say great because Oklahoma State shot 54%, so they didn't miss a whole lot. But you only give up 6 offensive rebounds, and they scored 12 points.
2 per.
That's 2 points for every per offensive rebound.
2 per.
Cincinnati dominates in comparison, right? They got 13.
I don't know that I've seen anybody against Cincinnati this season score 1.2 plus per possession.
Yeah. It's almost like the defense was dreadful. Cincinnati scored 1.169 points per possession. That is very, very good. Very good. That's my point. And this is as well as they played offensively at home. And they lost because the defense was trash. Trash. Garbage. Trash.
I don't know that I have much left in the tank here on this one, but
what do you mean?
It's a gross game. There's not anything left to talk about. They played like shit.
Okay, so you just quit?
No,
Aaron, we don't quit. We don't quit. We're tough here. We got toughness. The people are here.
Talked about a bubble bursting for 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, but again, here's the thing about that. They have put themselves in a position all conference season. They got behind the 8 ball early, and they have continuously put themselves in a position where they had to be near flawless, even though it was within reach, even though it's always been attainable, because they have gone on the road and won a couple tough games on the road. They've gotten up off the mat and they've competed. And I know people don't feel like it tonight. This has been a fun team to watch, even though they're flawed and imperfect. But this is what happens in a league like this. If you continuously shrink your margin for error. And tonight is what they have done all season. They let Texas get away at home. They let Oklahoma get away at home. Guess what? There's no shame in losing to Houston and Iowa State at home.
No.
You're probably going to do that.
Right.
You're probably going to do that. But you get back on track against Central Florida. And you give yourself a chance. If they get to 6 and 7, they only need to go 3 and 2 down the stretch. It's reasonable. It's not likely, but it's reasonable. But when you continuously put yourself behind the 8 ball with 3 games, there's 3 games for me. And now 4. Now 4. Texas at home, should have closed it out. Oklahoma at home, should have closed it out. West Virginia on the road, up 10.
Can't lose that one.
Can't lose that one. And now you drop this game. And those 4 games are going to be the story of this season because you were close enough. You played well enough through 13 games in this conference to be a factor. But you didn't close out the games that you should have closed out. And that puts the pressure on every other game. If you're sitting, if tonight you were sitting, tonight was game 13. So if coming into tonight you were 7-5 because you had taken care of business in 2 of those 3 games, then this isn't a killer. But because you didn't take care of those 3 games, you have no margin for error. You have no ability to correct yourself when a team like Oklahoma, that clearly over their last 5 games, Oklahoma State, clearly over their last 5 games has been playing better. Clearly over their last 5 games has been playing better.
7-5 only gives you 2 of those. That's only 2 of those 3.
I know. That's what I mean. If you only had 2, and if you got 2 out of 3, and you were coming into tonight 7-5, you've got a little wiggle room.
Well, you're also probably not a bubble team. You're also probably not a bubble team.
No, you're in at that point. You're a 7, 8, 9 seed, somewhere in there. Yeah. But that's the consequence in this league, because you can have bubble talent. You can have tournament talent. But if you let 1 or 2 get away, all of a sudden you're looking at, 8-10, 7-11, and you're probably not getting in at 8-10 or 7-11. And you've got a good team. You've played well. You've been in a lot of games with a lot of the best teams in the country, but you didn't finish the deal. And what you hope is, long-term, we'll have plenty of time to talk about this in the offseason, what you hope is, long-term, you're learning from this. But what's frustrating in the moment is similar things keep happening down the stretch of games. I mean, what did we just say? 5-point lead with 6 minutes left? Yeah, 6:34. Actually, 5:52. Up 5, 61-56. Think about how many points are scored down the stretch, Aaron, because you could not stop Oklahoma State. Holy shit. In the final 6 minutes, they scored 24 points.
If you're giving up that many points, though, what's it hurt at that point to put in Jizzle?
You're not wrong.
Just saying.
Now I don't want to talk about it anymore because I had not come to that realization yet.
If you're giving up,
you gave up 24 points in the final 6 minutes.
I think that's why everybody's so mad.
They were fouling.
I think that's why everybody's so mad, though, Chad, is if you're going to blame taking out Jizzle because he gave up points, and then you give up points with your other guys in there.
Yeah, but that's revisionist. That's 2020 hindsight.
Oh, sure. That's being a fan, Chad. Come on. You know what being a fan is. That's not. Now we're going to call that crazy? Come on.
I'm not calling it crazy, but I mean, the free throws that put them up 5 were from Day-Day. Jizzle gave up the lead.
Day-Day should not
stabilized.
Day-Day should not have been the one taking that 3 towards the end of the game either, ever.
Look,
I know he made 1 tonight, but he is a horrendous 3-point shooter.
Jizzle checked out with the score tied at 8:12 left. Okay? They were up 5
because
2 minutes later.
and then down. Roll Tide.
Well, but no, actually, I'm even more wrong. They were up 5 with 5:25 left. Because Seamas made a shot to go up 5. They're up 4 with 4:41 left. Like that, it goes so far beyond when they took Jizzle out. They kept scoring. My point being, them scoring was not the problem. They kept scoring. They scored a shit ton of points in those final 6 minutes. What, 15 points in 6 minutes? That's a lot of points in a 6-minute stretch. Offense was not the issue. They gave up 24 points in 6 minutes. That's like 140-point pace.
I'm just saying, if you're going to give up the points anyway, put the guy who's also scoring at the other end in.
Sure, but it wasn't going to change the final outcome.
Day was 1 of 5. He was 1 of 5 in the second half. I'm looking at it right now.
The offense kept scoring, Aaron.
Jizzle was 3 of 3 in the second half. If he would stayed on that pace and took those 5 shots, he would have made all of them, and it would have been 8 more points. Game over. Bearcats win.
24 points in the final 6 minutes is insane. It makes my head explode. Like I again, I have said this for 17 years doing this. These games, and I took a decade off because they were playing in the American and it didn't matter as much. It still mattered occasionally, but not as much. In the Big East and now in the Big 12, you have to defend in the final 5 minutes if you're going to win games. You have to. It is the defining trait of successful teams at this level. To give up 24 points in the final 6 minutes, my head wants to explode. My head wants to explode. They scored enough that, like, Aaron, if I told you, 50, 60, 76, if I told you Cincinnati had a 5-point lead with 6 minutes to go and they were going to score 16 more points, you would have taken them comfortably. Comfortably.
No, I didn't bet $1 on this game. Nothing.
That has nothing to do with what I said. What I'm saying is, with a 5-point lead and you score 15 more points to 16 more points from there to the end of the game, you should win comfortably.
Not this team.
And they lost by 4.
If they were away, they win that game, Chad.
There it is. That's right. If they were away, they get stops on defense and they win that game.
If they're away, it's game over.
This team has been spectacular defensively for 90% of the Big 12 slate. To see them not lock in, and
you need one more guard. You need one more guard, Chad.
But that doesn't have anything to do with defense, Aaron. Offensively, yeah, you need one more guard.
Well,
but
if you're playing against small teams, you need one more guard.
They just 16 points in 5 minutes is 64 for half. Sure, Steve, but you're also up 5. And you're supposed to defensively close the other team out.
Well,
you're missing.
This team struggled closing out games the entirety of the season.
Sure.
That's their Achilles heel.
But they're usually playing from behind and trying to catch up.
They don't know what to do with the lead. And they don't know how to close games out.
You hope all of this, as we look back many years down the road, boy, that first season was a learning experience in how real competing in this league is.
I hope that Tyler Betsy is a cold-blooded killer.
Rayvon's a wing. That's not really what we're talking about. Pete Crawley says, I was worried coming into the game that UC would play lax and let Oklahoma State score. Me too. We were both worried about that. You're not breaking any ground here. Have you not watched any of our content? Aaron and I have been praising Oklahoma State on offense for 3 months.
They're a run and gun team, and tonight they runned and they gunned.
And Cincinnati dead. They dead. D-E-D. Dead.
Now you're going to get us demonetized. I think that's one of the words.
No, D-E-D.
I'm just
D-E-D. It's a different word. That's not the same word. The defense was especially awful down the stretch. Right. Like that's like I'm telling you, if you tell me you've got a 5-point lead with 16 minutes left and you're going to score 16 more points, I'm comfortable that we walk out of that game shooting free throws to win by 7. They didn't get any stops. 24 points in 6 minutes.
Kudos to Oklahoma State, though, for having the smarts to foul CMOS to not allow a 3 to even go up.
Yeah, I mean, that's designed. Most coaches try to do that. They did it right, too. They let a couple seconds drain off. They fouled him with 4 seconds left. They put you in a really tough spot where you have to make the first, miss the second, get a tip in. They almost had the angle for the tip in, and it went just a little right of where Aziz was coming from. But yeah, yeah. Right. They did that against UCF. Like you closed the game out. That's part of it. You also get yourself in trouble. You know where they got themselves in trouble a little bit, Aaron?
Outside of letting them score.
They only
16
fouled 4
points in
times.
5 minutes.
They only fouled 4 times.
Yeah.
Leading up to
And
they had to foul 3 times to get him into the bonus. I think that ran off 4, 5, 6 seconds.
At least.
Yeah. 24 points in the final 6 minutes. Wow. We'll be talking about this one for a while.
What? I don't want to talk about this one for a while. I hope Saturday gives us plenty to talk about. Thank God you and Dave get tomorrow. I'm off on that one. And tomorrow we get to talk about the rest of the conference, not this one.
Yeah.
So then there's
I have to talk
Friday.
to Dave about it tomorrow, and he was there, and he was not thrilled at halftime. He stopped down to the media section at halftime, and he was not in a good mood.
Can't imagine he was. And then Friday I'm off, and then Saturday we got another game. So I don't know that I'm going to have to talk about this one for a while. You might not.
No, you're
talk
not.
About this one.
This one's over for you.
All the way out.
I'm gonna make you. I'm gonna call you in from the bullpen tomorrow to talk about this game, just to make you mad.
Yeah. Just call Keegan in so you don't have to talk about it.
He's gonna be at the coach's show. I asked him. I'm like, "Are you sure you want to go coach's show tomorrow? You want to talk to Dave?"
I might be away from the desk. I had to go do dishes. Pull the old Justin Williams, cleaning bottles.
You're gonna do one of these in the background. It's like this.
Yeah, that's all you're gonna see, and on mute. Yep.
So then when I pull you into the chat, you just have no camera and no microphone, and I'm like, "Where's Aaron?" And you're like, "Oh, the baby."
Yeah.
Contractions. I don't know. Something was going on upstairs.
Dog was barking. Ed said he's available.
Really? Is he sure? Maybe something will come up and he wouldn't be able to make it.
He's in the chat. He said he's available.
I'm not throwing Ed to the wolves with Dave tomorrow. Ed, you don't want that smoke.
I don't want that smoke.
I don't either. But we're gonna do it anyway. Just all right. Yeah. Let him get it out. Oh, no, not tomorrow. He said, maybe Maybe we could run back to brunch tomorrow, and we'll just have Jeff and Dave talk about it for an hour.
I think Jeff actually has to work. He watched the game. I talked to him after the game, but might see if he's working tomorrow.
Yeah, Kelsey's got practice late tomorrow. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. All right, that's gonna wrap it up. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for the BCJ pod. This is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.